So this is a very big moment for the podcast right now. Phil, the original guest on the old podcast that didn't do, actually, no, you weren't the original guest. That's a lie. But you know, a
I was
guest on
feeling
the
good.
old, a guest on the old podcast that kind of died. And, you know, here we are in version 2.
Yep, I'm still alive. Thank you. It's been a long time coming. You've been telling me about this podcast for a while, but couldn't really set it up with both our schedules, together. But finally got it done.
The funny part is we were supposed to do it during the daytime so we could make fun of Hamilton.
Yeah. I mean, every day I wake up, I could see Hamilton, miles and miles away on my balcony. It's motivation for my day. I mean, the CN Tower's there as well. It's nice and all, but Hamilton's the goal.
Hamilton's
One day.
Oh, Hamilton people are gonna hate me. But yeah, no,
I'm complimenting them.
But
trying to go to that city with all the smoke covering the air and all those factories, and it's beautiful.
Beautiful. So the reason why you're here today, and we'll be here for many, many times, but today we're just kind of talking about something that's kind of close to both of us, because I think we've been friends for a very long time, like almost like 15 years now. We've been friends. Yeah.
15 years. We're putting a number to it. Yeah.
Something like that. We've been friends for almost 15 years now.
15 years. Like, that's from birth to high school already. Has it already been double? I think I probably met you around when I was 15.
No. You met me
13. Damn, you're right.
Yeah, because I was 14. Damn, we just aged ourselves.
Yeah. Old geezers out here.
we just aged ourselves right there. And one of the things that we just kind of have in common are our passions for, the Toronto sports teams. And we both have kind of interesting interactions with those organizations and how we became fans, and, what those organizations kind of mean to us in the context of the city. And I thought we could just kind of rap about that a little bit. And I wanted to kind of start with the Blue Jays, because that's the one team that you and I both had, not season tickets, but we had flex packs together. So we were going to games so regularly. And what started your being a fan of the Blue Jays, or just baseball in general?
I mean, coming from Toronto, we're a city with a lot of sports. So as a kid, I was always into sports. So whether it was, I was a huge Toronto Maple Leaf fan as a kid.
Really?
Believe it or not.
Same. It's just something that I think no matter who you are, when you grow up somewhere, that's just what you do. You support the local team. And then
you support the local team. I was supporting the Toronto Argonauts, at one point in my life there.
I'm a Patriots fan. I've given up on the
I
just support Toronto everything except the Argonauts, and I can't do it. NFL's way better. If we get an NFL team, I'm there 100%.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't really know the difference between like the skill set of CFL, NFL at the time. All I knew was just I'm supporting my city. I'm supporting Toronto. Since I was small, that's always been my thing. I wasn't faking going for the New York teams like some Torontonians did back in the day. Well, it was always about the Toronto teams. And I think summertime, obviously we have our summer vacations as kids.
Yeah.
And Blue Jays game every day.
Yeah.
So I was on every day. I mean, the first time when I started really getting into sports was I would say early 2000s.
Mm.
So my first favorite player at the time for the Blue Jays was Carlos Delgado.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Slugger, home runs, that was my guy. So that was like around the first time I was watching the Blue Jays, 2001, 2002, around there.
Mm.
And I mean, I could just like, it's playing in my head right now, just being at my old home, just, summertime. Usually I'm in and out from the house because I knew all the kids in the neighborhood were always in and out, but I always had my TV, Blue Jays games. If I'm not outside, I'm watching that game, but it was always on my TV.
Yeah, which is super interesting because my kind of build up into being a Jays fan is because, you know, my family's from the Caribbean, and, you know, we're so used to playing cricket. And I think that once, you know, everybody kind of came up here and there's no cricket, my uncle kind of adopted baseball. So he's really the center of my passion for baseball. And it was the time that we used to get the entire family together on weekends during the summertime to go out to these games. So, you know, it'd be me and my millions of cousins and my aunts and stuff like that, and just a good family outing. And there's got to be pictures out there somewhere. Someone in someone's home has pictures of us as a family at those games. So when I think about the Jays, I think about family outings. I think about, you know, doing all those things together. And then, you know, as I got older, it kind of got more ingrained in me because during the summertime, like a kid, you know, you're in and out of the house. And my uncle, we used to go to my uncle's place, my aunt and uncle, on the weekends. So you'd come into the house and he'd have a Jays game on in the background, right? So he'd fall asleep on the couch. So I'd come in and I'd try to change the channel on him. And as soon as you change the channel, it's like he just woke up. Like, whoa, 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 put that back. I was watching that. So, you know, just you flip it back. Yeah, you flip it back to the Blue Jays. And, you know, over time, you just watch it and you watch it, you get more invested in it. And the next thing you know, you're kind of sold on it. And that becomes part of your daily routine, being part of that. And the interesting part of it is that I remember when I was younger, being a Blue Jays fan wasn't it wasn't popular. Like that was something that got you made fun of. Like if you said, "Oh, I like the Blue Jays." I don't know if you ever
not really not in my childhood.
Not in your childhood.
You know what? I started hearing people, you know, maybe making fun of baseball was more like high school, I guess.
Yeah,
I had
that
moved
too.
already by then, but where I grew up, I think a lot of people had an interest for baseball. I also grew up with like in my old neighborhood, there were a lot of Latin Americans there, especially from like also Dominican, Venezuela. So those were their sports. So I had some classmates that, you know, really enjoyed baseball. So I can't recall being made fun of for watching baseball.
Yeah. It's not like the
I
hectic making fun of, but people be like, "Why do you watch baseball? What are you doing?" But then
yeah
again, I grew up in an Italian neighborhood, so it was primarily soccer in that neighborhood, right? So we have a little
yeah
bit of differences in the neighborhoods that we grew up in. But not a lot of people really supported baseball. So you would kind of go inside and watch. Like people will be like, "Oh, you coming outside?" "No, man, Jays are on. Got to go inside to watch that."
yeah
And even in high school too, which is like the funniest thing ever because you and I were friends in high school and we were both going to Blue Jays games separately. And we didn't figure out that we both liked the team until after high school. And we
yeah
just didn't, and that kind of speaks volumes to the fact that in those times, it wasn't really the popular thing to support the Blue Jays.
yeah. You know what? In high school, I didn't follow the Blue Jays as hard as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. There was different things. I guess I was playing a lot of basketball, so I was watching a lot more basketball. Like as far as like
Got to multitask.
analyzing basketball. Yeah, I know. But
Yeah.
I didn't. You know, when I was in Breakbuff, like I don't recall.
Dropping names on the school now.
I mean, when I was in Breakbuff, I don't recall anybody when I was there like talking about baseball. No one's
Yeah, same.
ever had a conversation with me about baseball. So
There's a few guys who were on
if
the
they did,
baseball
I'd talk
team.
about it because my old
Yeah.
neighborhood, a lot of baseball fans. But
I think most of the people that I hung out with were primarily, you know, hockey and basketball, and then soccer was pretty universal, but not a lot of baseball. But it's an interesting thing because when we finally went to games together, um, and we got the flex pack tickets and we went to that season, and that was after they brought in R.A. Dickey, they brought in Jose Reyes, Emilio Bonifacio, Melky Cabrera. It was like this big thing where the Blue Jays just went out there and got this great team of trades that kind
That
of
was
pissed
big.
me off because there was a lot of guys in the farm system that I had been following for a while, and I was waiting
Yeah.
for them to make their big debut, and then they were all gone. But we went to that game, and all of a sudden, it was the weirdest environment ever because we had gone to games before when nobody had cared, right? It was like $50, buy a ticket, sit on the sit.
$2. I go there for $2.
Toonie Tuesdays.
When I was in elementary school, that was something
I
like I didn't
remember
even have
that.
to ask like family for money or anything. I could
You already
just
had $2.
yeah, I had $2. I found it on the floor. Like, all right, we're going to a Blue Jays game.
But yeah, that's the evolution, man. Like we went from being a $2 stadium, but you know, that first year that we went to a game, it was the weirdest thing that I've ever seen, which was all of a sudden everybody cared. And it was the biggest bandwagon jump
Bandwagons, yep.
that I had ever experienced in my life. Right? Because it was the first game of the season. It was against the Red Sox. And I believe in the first few innings, the Red Sox had gone off like 5-0 to start it off. And I want to say the Red Sox.
They were like.
I think they went on
Are you
to.
talking about Ari Dickey's game?
Yeah. Because that was
they were up more than 5-0. It was
no
like
to start the game
early.
to early, like in the first 2 innings, the Blue Jays were down like 5-0.
I think even more, but yeah, something bad.
And then people started booing, and the reporter started getting on them, and it was like the weirdest thing ever. And it was kind of speaking volumes to the fan base that we have in Toronto, which is, you know, very, how do I say this constructively? Very judgmental on things that they know nothing about.
Yeah, I think that's also an issue when you have some of these big cities. You know, Toronto being the economic capital of Canada. You know, I hear similar things where in other cities, you know, all of a sudden when a team is doing good, now you have the big shots of the city, you know, working in the Wall Streets or whatever, you know, attending the games. They don't know anything. They're there. All of a sudden, all your stands are a bunch of people in suits, watching the game.
We have that problem.
Don't really know the names. Oh, you know, I'm sure a lot of cities have this problem. Toronto definitely is up there. I can recall like
we're one of the worst, man.
Leafs game or what? The most expensive hockey games, sports games, like I don't know, hockey games.
I think the Leafs
NHL.
have the most expensive ticket in the NHL. And the Raptors, I believe, had the most expensive NBA Finals ticket ever. I think they broke the record.
But, I mean, you look at the comparison I would see even before that Finals for Raptors tickets. We were, even when we were, you know, not the greatest team, but we were up there with the Lakers and Knicks and whatnot or not Knicks.
Not the Knicks. Why would you say the Knicks?
Knicks is a big market team, but
I know why you want to say the Knicks because of New York.
I'm thinking big market, and then I just came across it. I just said Knicks, and I'm like,
that doesn't make sense. It's like one of the worst.
I mean, I'm sure Knicks probably charge a lot of money for their tickets, and people still go. But
I feel bad for Knicks fans every day. And what they have to go through.
I could go through my entire life with them. You know, like this.
The Knicks have not been good our entire life. But yeah, I think that's something that is very true because a lot of the bigger market teams, I think, but the Knicks are a good example of that is because everybody cares about the Knicks when the Knicks are doing good. And now the Knicks have not been a good team for a long time. They had a glimmer of hope.
They haven't been a championship contender since around the Patrick Ewing days, 2099 when they made the finals. Yeah, they had like, you know, once in a blue moon to make a playoffs. They had, I think, Stephon Marbury. They made the playoffs once with him, and they had Carmelo Anthony. Yep. But it was just like a one and done season of just not Carmelo, of just winning. They win for 1 year and then they go through the next 10 years losing.
But it's interesting because of the fact that once a team starts getting good, especially in these economic centers, at these very large cities, you have those bandwagon fans that come in and kind of take over. And I think in our sense, or in our city, a lot of it starts with the Leafs. I think everything in Toronto kind of starts with the Leafs and then branches out from there. And we know it, right?
All those Blue Jays games, those were entirely almost a lot of them were all Maple Leaf fans.
All Leafs fans who were waiting
for. The Leafs have been losing, so exactly.
They were waiting for something that was decent to watch, and the Jays had just spent the whole.
It's just a thing to do to go get drunk, go to the game,
right?
Don't know a lot. Outdoors game.
Don't know a thing about baseball, and you know what? And I'm not gonna sit here and hate on them. I think that you should be able to do that. But I also think like, hey, if you're just here to get drunk and, casually enjoy some baseball, that's cool. But also don't ruin it for me. And what I say by that is I'm here to enjoy a baseball game. So, don't throw paper planes on the field. Right. You remember when we had that problem? There was just a bunch of people throwing paper planes on the field.
I remember that.
Yeah,
throwing beer cans.
Throwing beer cans on the field, doing all these things. It's like, it's not necessary. It's just a game. Like I heckle players all the time. You've been there. I heckle players all the time.
Yeah, great heckler. Yep. You're pretty good at it. You got the guy at the bullpen.
I get them.
The bullpen was upset at one point, but you don't do anything bad. It's legit heckling.
Yeah.
My favorite one is the MLS Cup. Was it MLS Cup? MLS Cup against Seattle, and you were heckling one of the guys on the bench there, and it was when you said he needs to upgrade his FIFA ranking. That he turned around and started saying something to you. Like, that's what got him.
Yeah.
Because we were in the MLS Cup Finals, and we had those seats that are like pretty close, right behind the opposition bench.
Where they warm up.
Yeah, and he's warming up, and you were kind of heckling this guy. I can't remember who it was, but the moment you said something about like he needs to improve his FIFA ranking, or you said you're looking at his FIFA ranking right now, and it's
his FIFA rating.
Like you probably Googled it or something, and you told him. He turned around and he was upset.
Because he probably knew. He probably thinking about it himself. It's like, this guy knows about my FIFA rating, man.
That's you hurt feelings with that one.
Oh, dude, did I ever tell you about the time? Were you there? I think you were there for that. But there was a time where I got kicked out of a Blue Jays game.
Yeah, the security.
For talking about a guy's shoes.
Yeah, I was there. Blue Jays.
Yeah, and I was just ripping on him because he had like the worst shoes ever.
And then he went and told the security
to get me kicked out. Because I wasn't swearing. Because there were some guys behind us that were like,
there's way worse.
They were saying way worse things. One guy was talking about a dude's wife. But I was just talking about his shoes because he had some corny cleats on. Like it didn't work. It looked way too corny. And I was just like, there's some. And I think what got him pissed off was that his teammates were laughing at him too.
Probably. That's like,
I remember that because I remember I was talking to him and I was roasting him for his shoes, and his teammates were laughing at him that I was roasting him, and he got pissed off and he told the security to get me kicked out. But I've never ever like that's my rule when I roast players. It's like, I'm not gonna curse at you. I'm not gonna say anything dirty. I'm not gonna talk about your family. I'm not gonna talk about any of that stuff. But I'll get under your skin and just talk about things that I think is funny.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's all funny. FIFA rankings, guy's shoes, like
just random stuff.
and it's just hilarious when you get to that point where you say something that's just so silly, and then
all of a sudden you have their attention.
And responding back,
Because it's happened to me. It's happened to me a few times, especially at those Jays games, because we always got the tickets right above where the away players start warming up. and I always got at them and just try to get under their skin by saying something completely silly,
Yeah.
like completely nonsensical, and then all of a sudden they turn around and now I have your attention. You've lost.
Yeah. Basically, you win when you get their attention.
Yeah.
Because these guys, they deal with
I
that's
think
what it
they're
is in
so
sports games.
used to hearing
The usual.
people, yeah,
It's
the
the usual.
usual, like the fuck you, your mom or your whatever.
You
You're the
suck. Or they chanting their
yeah,
last name,
yeah,
with something added to it.
yeah.
Like,
But when you go up there and you just
been
kind of
here, done
say
that.
something offbeat and silly to the
Yeah,
people,
it's
they're like,
unique.
"What did you just say?"
Yeah, when you start saying things, it's like it's unique, which is
Yeah,
why the teammates are laughing because like that's something new. Like,
yeah. They haven't heard. That's a heckle they haven't heard yet, so they
yeah,
kind of just think it's funny too.
yeah,
And that I think that those are the ones that I enjoy the most is when I'm heckling a player and then his teammates are laughing at him while I'm laughing at him. Greatest moment. We've digressed. I don't even know where we were. We were talking about fair weather fans. I know that's where we were, but I don't
fair
know what
weather
we were.
fans.
Yeah, just like these bandwagoners who, yes, I think there's no reason to throw a beer on the field. I
I
think there's no
mean,
reason.
no one's arguing with you for that.
But we went to a lot of Jays games where that used to happen a lot. And
I
that
was
was,
a beer vendor. So at one point, for the people watching, I was a beer vendor for Blue Jays games
yeah,
during the Blue Jays playoff run. With the Jose Bautista bat flip,
yeah.
that game.
Iconic
There was
time.
there was a lot of tension in that stadium at that
Mhm.
time, and I remember like going out there. People are all throwing beers. Like everyone is upset. Everyone is pissed. People are not liking the umpires' calls. It was very emotional
Yeah.
for everybody in that stadium. It's just like there were my tray of beers here, my bag of beers. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going out there. Like I know someone's just going to, just take my beers and just throw it. Like literally everybody is doing it. Like once one person started doing it, a
Everybody.
section's doing it. And I've seen that happen once or twice before.
Hmm.
But this was just like the entire stadium,
Yeah.
all sections was just doing it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going out there with my full cans of beer. Kidding?
But I think it's a real problem that we have. And I'm pretty sure other cities have this. I mean, someone who's watching this could be like, yeah, that sounds like my city too. And but I think I don't think it's Jays fans, right? I don't think it's the people who really like baseball. I think once again, it's the fair weather fans who are just kind of bored of the Leafs not being a good team. And now they're kind of moving around, shifting around.
But
Because
that
they're
that
looking
comes
for
with
something to
winning.
do.
When your team
Yeah,
starts winning, you just start seeing a whole lot of new faces that weren't here in the beginning.
absolutely. That's
They
part
weren't
of it.
there when you were struggling, and all of a sudden they're all out here supporting you. All of a sudden,
Which is great because you want to build your fan
that's
base.
how it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you want to build the fan base.
that's
And
the point. So when like when you're Blue Jays games or Raptors games who have been like below both of those teams,
mhm.
it's like what's the goal? Like you want your team to win. You need to get attention for this team because our team is not playing on the national TV stations.
No.
How can that change? You need people to watch the game. You need more fans for this. So it comes with the territory. Raptors started winning. Of course, now all of a sudden, people who've told me they hate basketball and stuff are now talking to me. Oh, Philip, the Raptors. Kawhi Leonard.
But you make a good point there because like people who I know did not like basketball, people who have always trashed basketball to me, when the Raptors started really making the playoffs, they were like the biggest basketball fans now.
Yeah.
So once again, and these are primarily Leafs fans too.
Yeah.
But they just kind of took over. And it makes me think about some of the things that we've experienced as Raptors fans. Some like a lot of you out there don't know, like you didn't see Kobe score 81 points. I did. And you did too.
I watched it live. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't upset in that game.
I'm
a Raptors fan, but I appreciate the greatness that Kobe just displayed. I cannot believe to this day. You know, I'm gonna grow old, and one of my fond memories when it comes to basketball is that I witnessed Kobe score 81 points.
Well, you know what I ended up thinking at the end of that game? My mindset was just, no, I guess we suck.
I mean, it's not like it was a playoff game, a do or die game. At some point, it's just like, all right, this regular season game, it's a throwaway at this point.
Yeah.
What's Kobe gonna do for the rest of this game?
But it was like, you know, a lot of Raptors fans today don't really know. And this is not to take shots at those who are really and truly Raptors fans, those who have been part of the, you know, the struggle, because a lot of like longtime Raptors fans know what the struggle really was, just having a good season and then coming back the next season and thinking to yourself, all right, we can build off that. But then, you know, 16 games into the season, Bruce Bowen sticks his foot under Vince Carter's feet on a 3-point shot. Vince Carter goes down for the rest of the season, and you're thinking like, oh my God, what's going on here? Right? To watching them beat the Knicks for their first ever playoff win, to drafting Rafael Araujo for no real reason.
We went through a season or two of starting between Rafael Araujo, Lauren Woods, Pop. So we couldn't decide who's our starting center of these guys.
So there's a lot of people who have
literally
been
these guys were G League guys
at best.
Compare. Yeah.
We were fighting to see which G Leagues. Well, it was the D League even a thing back then?
D League came at some point.
I don't remember.
I don't remember exactly which year, but no, I don't think in that year, I don't think D League was a thing yet.
Right. And you're thinking about and the craziest part about it is we had two of the best commentators in the NBA, in my opinion, because, you know, I'm a fan, was Chuck Swirsky and I almost said Leo.
Hey, can I just say this one random fact I just found out?
Okay, go for it.
Recently, about Leo Roudens. So if you remember Leo Roudens, he coached Team Canada in 2007.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know, because he had no coaching history at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we had an NBA player back when we didn't really have many NBA players commit, but we had Samuel Dalembert commit, got into a fight with Leo.
Yeah, I remember that.
But anyways, bad times. Leo Roudens was the head coach. You know who was the assistant coach on that Canadian team?
Who?
Because I saw Leo congratulate him based on came a long way from being my assistant on Team Canada. And I remember Leo was coach in Team Canada for 1 year, and it was a very bad year. Like I said, he's a guy who had no coaching experience. It was horrible. He fought with all the players. But anyways, Mike Malone.
No fucking way.
Mike Malone was an assistant coach on that Team Canada. Because I saw him congratulate him, and I was like, what? Let me look this up. And he posted a picture of him. Mike Malone's there. Team Canada, Leo Roudens being the head coach. Like, damn, what a come up.
Oh, I didn't know that. I remember that year.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that.
That's crazy. Look at Mike Malone right now. It's just crazy that.
Look at Leo Roudens right now.
This guy was the assistant to Leo Roudens. Like, that is disrespectful. But anyways, sorry, that went off. I just remembered that. I know you would be interested in that.
But yeah, we had one of the best commentating duos, in my opinion. Like, I've only heard so many other commentating duos, but and Jax Armstrong and Chuck Swirsky, and you know their nicknames, their commentary, onions, baby onions, break out the salami and cheese.
Man, Chuck Swirsky was the #1 guy in slogans.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
amazing. Like,
Well, he ended up
any slogan he said stuck. It
stuck.
was good.
Yeah,
it wasn't corny. He perfected it.
he started the CB4, which turned into CB.
Every single player on our team had a nickname at that time,
and he
it
started it, and it all stuck. Yeah,
and no one argued against it. No one was just like, cringe. Like, no, this guy was.
Bargnani was Il Mago.
Il Mago.
Barbosa.
Bosch, he did the Bosch. I'm like, oh my Bosch.
Yep. It was just
taking out the salami and cheese.
Yeah. Wait, so for those of you, because I know a lot of people in the United States watch this too, the salami and cheese is something that gets brought out in a Raptors game when it is guaranteed that the Raptors are about to win. So as soon as you hear break out the salami and cheese, Chuck Swirsky is like guaranteeing that from this point on, the Raptors are going to win the game.
And he's never got that wrong.
He's never got it wrong. I don't think he's ever got it.
One time I remember he almost did. And I can't remember the game, but I remember when the game finished, it was a close, like he called it early. That's why. He called it early, and his team made a big comeback, and it was basically neck to neck for the last few minutes. The Raptors ended up winning, and he was just like, man, perfect record still stays.
There's been a few games where he's busted out the salami and cheese a little bit early.
There's been times he's brought it out early.
I think the earliest that I remember is the second quarter salami and cheese.
Yeah, if you're on the other team and
he calls for salami,
Chuck Swirsky on the other team called out salami and cheese on you, like
it's over for you. He's already called the salami and cheese. It's over.
It's over.
But it's been such.
Then again, Raptors were only winning like 20 to 30 games during those years.
Yeah, let's not. Which
we're
also
bringing out the salami and cheese that much.
Which also makes it better, though, like more impressive that he was able to call it, because it wasn't like we were winning a lot of games.
Yep.
But we were, in my opinion, one of the best home teams in the NBA, and we've been one of the best home teams in the NBA.
And I think a lot of it to do as well with the Raptors fans is the fact that they're overlooked, not just as far as, you know, the NBA with we're being the only Canadian team. Mm-hmm. So the American media is never really focused on the Raptors. So in that way, we're overlooked. But even in our own country, we're overlooked because Raptors also aren't getting attention with the likes of the Maple Leafs, right? And, you know, the other NHL teams. And when the Blue Jays are doing well, the Blue Jays are higher than the Raptors as well, right?
Well, you remember back
at times as well.
You remember back in I think it was, I want to say around like 2009, when like a Raptors game went into like double or triple overtime, and it was an epic game. And they didn't.
I think it was later than that.
And then I think we were watching it together. We were at a bar. We were watching it together. And as soon as the game is over, they cut straight to like a Calgary Flames game. And the TSN commentator is like, oh, wow, that was a long Raptors game. Let's get straight to hockey.
So
he didn't even give us the post-game interviews. These guys just battled for like a bunch of extra quarters.
Just to break it down for anybody, I guess, that's not watching from Canada, you know, we have like a couple sports channels, and basically it's not regional like in the States where, you know, you have like New England or New York or whatever, like it's all of Canada. So they're trying to play all of Canada's teams all on this one channel. So you got, and especially when, you know, you have how many NHL teams in Canada right now? Seven, right?
Yeah.
7. And some of those cities, like that's their only Canadian team. So that's like the heart. That's all they watch just outside of the GTA. So you're trying to play all the NHL games, you know, the NBA games, the MLB games and whatnot. So there's overlap. It's basically you have a Toronto Raptors game, which was very fortunate at this point to be on a main channel right now. Right? But then right after, it's the next game. We have a West Coast hockey game, which was the Calgary Flames. So this game went to triple overtime. So they have to continue.
And especially somewhere like here, because I'll tell you this right now, I don't like Boston fans don't understand that, because if the Bruins and the Celtics are playing, you have the ability to watch both no matter where you are. So kudos to Boston for that. And it does help develop a good following within the city. But for
in
us,
Boston, you have the Celtics, the Bruins, Patriots, the Revolution, the Red Sox.
I mean, the Revolution exists, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They just don't. They exist. The Revolution exists. I've been to more Revs games than most.
But you know what I mean? Like, I just counted all that in one hand.
Yeah.
Right? But then when we have our sports channels, which it's not regional, so
yeah,
it's the entire
We're trying
country.
to fit everything.
And I know a lot of Americans, no one's watching the NHL, so you're not aware that Canada has a lot of professional sports teams. But there are, because you have 7 NHL teams that are all followed greatly. And then you have the rest of the Toronto teams, which is like our basketball team.
I think it's exactly, because the only people in America who are aware of that are specifically those who watch hockey. But no matter where you are in Canada, people are watching hockey. And that kind of overshadowed the Raptors for so long. Is that like the fact that, and that was the thing that we were talking about a few years back when we found out that curling was getting better views than Toronto FC and the Raptors.
Yep.
That's why you should fill out your census, people. Do the census. Canadian people, fill out when they call you and they say to you, what do you watch on TV? Those people who call you during the middle of the day and you never want to answer your phone, answer it and tell them you watch the Raptors, not curling, and that we'll get more Raptors content on TV and the radio. Please.
You see, we grew up in Toronto, which is just, it's one part of Canada. And all these channels have to broadcast market to all of Canada. Mm-hmm. So growing up, I think to this day, I don't know a single person that tells me that they watch curling or plays curling. Maybe you have.
Yeah. I don't know. I know people who participate.
For the sake of participating?
Well, we had a curling team in high school.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Did you not know? Yeah, we had a curling team.
Why would I know this? I don't know.
We had a curling team.
Where the hell did we practice?
I don't know.
There's a curling, I just never heard of curling in Toronto.
There's a curling club at Wilson and Avenue, so that may have been one of the places. But there might be other ones. The only curling club that I know is Wilson and Avenue. Do you know where it is? It's on Wilson.
It's a community center?
Yeah, it's on Wilson after Avenue, but before Yonge.
Yeah.
It's like right beside, it's like there's either an elementary school across the street, and it's like if you're coming towards Yonge, it'll be.
It starts with an N, I think.
No? I have no clue. But it's before Loretta.
Yeah.
That's where it is. But yeah, it's a battle to go against that. So
yeah, because what's another thing as well that also affects it is that you have the Toronto Raptor fans, you're going against all of Canada, and we're talking about like the non-urban areas where everybody in Saskatchewan right now is tuning into this curling game, right? Everyone in northern Quebec, it's like ain't got shit else to do. We're gonna watch our curling, But you have that plus the Raptors basketball in general is a younger demographic than curling. Curling is a much older demographic.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when they do these viewership counts with these Canadian networks, who's watching on TV, older people are more likely to be watching TV than younger people. And that's because younger people, we don't only choose TV to watch our sports games. A lot of us are streaming games. A lot of us are watching, on our tablets and our phones. We're not watching cable network. A lot of us don't even have cable anymore.
I don't have cable.
Older people still have that. So that's why the viewership counts. Like these guys are watching curling. These guys are, watching NASCAR horse racing. So we're going to play that over the Raptors game.
Yeah.
Because we don't see the numbers in Raptors games. They don't get the numbers of people who are streaming the games off different websites.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even have everything that I do right now is all streaming. Everything
Yeah.
is streaming.
I don't see a point for me to have
Cable. It's useless now.
I haven't had cable in
I wouldn't be surprised if in the
years.
next couple of years, cable just kind of comes with internet. Like you have to get it just because they need somebody to use it.
They tried, when I moved to this apartment, Bell tried to give me this Bell TV thing with cable channels for free. It comes free for the first 2 months, and I'm like, no, I don't want it. They're like, well, but why not? It's free. You might as well just take it. I'm like, but I'm not going to use it. But it's free. Trust me. You just take it, and then you can cancel it before the 2 months is done. I'm like, I don't want it. But eventually they're like, okay, we'll just put it, and you could just cancel it. I'm like, all right. And I remember I wrote it down because I know how Bell works. They're going to try to make me forget so that all of a sudden I see on my bill I paid for some cable that I've never used. So I made sure, I think after a month, I was just like, oh yeah, you know what? A month from now, I have to start paying for that. I'm going to call them right now and cancel that. Like I just remember when I was at work and I'm like, oh, stop everything I'm doing right now. Work is on hold right now. I got to make this phone call and cancel this before I forget. Canceled it, and they were just like, can we ask you why you canceled it? Is it, can we ask you this? Like, no, I just never watched it in my entire life. Don't need it.
I didn't use it.
I stream my games. I watch sports and I stream it. I watch Netflix movies. Whatever I need, I'll just.
The only thing that I do have Hulu Live, and the only thing that I like about Hulu Live is live news. That's the only thing that I like about it, live news. But like
that is true. I do. News is kind of like that thing, I could just have playing in the background at all points. I don't have that when I don't have cable.
Okay.
And sometimes it is a struggle where it's like, especially when this whole COVID thing was like really fresh. I'm like constantly like looking for the news networks that I could stream or something, but I'm not having any luck.
They don't have any, yeah.
Yeah. Telling me to sign up for all these things on these news channels. I'm like, I'm not signing up for nothing. I'm trying to get some free news.
But yeah, the crazy thing about being a Raptors fan now is that it's really come a long way to having 3 million people at a parade. And that was one of the most impressive things.
You're at the most for any NBA team?
I don't know. I never looked that up. I never looked. I should. I actually want to know now. But
I think, like I was saying before, I don't think I finished when I was talking about how we're always overlooked.
Because you digressed and I digressed.
Yeah, but my main point of why I was mentioning, how Raptor fans, we've been overlooked by both American and Canadian media, and that's what brings up like that passion by Raptors fans. Is the fact that we know we're overlooked, and it just makes you go to extra passion for this team, knowing that no one's paying attention. Like the world needs to know about this team. So.
I'm looking it up right now, trying to see if I could find something.
For what, the finals game?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
5 million people for the Chicago Cubs in 2016. So I'm going to say it might have the
5 million people for Chicago. Oh, you're talking about all sports. Yeah. I wouldn't. I'm going to say NBA. I think for NBA, it was the biggest.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that. Sports, no. I know, like, there's some teams like, Chicago Cubs would have been huge for sure.
Estimated 3 million people attended the 2004 World Series for the Red Sox. 2.2 million people for the Stanley Cup for the Blackhawks. 2 million people for the Stanley Cup for the Flyers in 74.
74. Damn.
Yeah, that's actually a good number for 74.
That's a great number.
2 million people for the Raptors so I think it was more than 2 million people. I think it was closer to 3. But I think, it is the largest. It's the largest in NBA. It's the largest championship crowd in NBA history good for you, Toronto. Good for you, Raptors fans, coming out in big numbers. Biggest parade in NBA.
You knew it was going to be big.
Oh yeah.
I was working that day, and I still found a way to get there and get trapped and have no way out. Not be able to make my meeting. There was no planning for our parade. I don't know what Toronto was thinking. You knew a lot of people would come, and they had no plan at all.
But it was a magical moment, man, because, you know, when I think about the Raptors and I think about everything that organization has been through to make it to that specific point, to win that championship the way that they did was so special because we've been through a lot. As an organization, we went through a lot.
We've been through some dark times.
Some very dark times. There were there were even in like we just kept on losing to the goddamn Charlotte Hornets.
You ain't been through dark times if you haven't been a Raptor fan.
Yep. Absolutely. There's a lot of organizations out there that don't know hard times, right? If you're not a Raptors fan, if you're a Raptors fan and you don't know dark times, you're really not a Raptors fan.
Let me just applaud both of us here, for always sticking with the Raptors here because I've gone through so many people here from the city that's just like they had enough and they're going to go cheer for the Lakers or LeBron. Like that's their team now. Like their number one team. They're not Raptors fans here. There's some guys I've met here in Toronto that have told me they're Golden State fans. Like Toronto, they're not fans of the Raptors.
The fuck? That's stupid.
But I applaud you. We stuck through it.
We've been through
all those dark times. All those times where like the highlight of my year was knowing who are we going to draft.
Right? You remember getting ready for that?
That's the highlight of the season. It's just like
there's been a few years recent, and the crazy part is there's been a few years recently where I know we don't have a first round draft pick, so I'm not as well in tune as to who's going in the first round because I'm thinking to myself, well, we don't have a pick, so unless we trade for one on coming up to draft day or on draft day, then it doesn't really matter. It's good to know who's going, but I got no skin in the game.
Yeah.
But then back in then, it's just like, okay, how many games can we lose to get a top 10 pick? And the worst thing about being a Raptors fan, and other Raptors fans who are going to listen to are going to know exactly what I'm talking about, is that somehow every single year, the Raptors always find a way to put themselves in contention for a playoff spot.
Frustrating. we could never be a top lottery team to get one of the top picks. We're always just like the worst position to be in the NBA, and just sports in general, is be in that position where you just missed the playoffs. So you're not good enough to make the playoffs, but you're not bad enough to get a top draft pick.
And that's where
that was what the Raptors were every year.
And it would mess with your heart. It would mess with your heart and soul because then you would sit there and you would think to yourself, okay, maybe we could put a couple more wins together, make the playoffs, go on a Cinderella run.
You know what's crazy? It's just like growing up watching the Raptors, like as a kid, I watched every game with my full energy that we're going to get this win. We have we're 60 games in. We have 16 wins. There's still a chance. I'm full of passion every game. I'm sitting in front of my TV and I'm praying. I would be as a kid. I'd just be praying like, please. Let the
funny part
win.
is like
make the playoffs.
You ever do the thing where like you're taking a look at the schedule, right? And you're taking a look at the standings. You're like trying to map out the future, and you're just thinking to yourself, okay, but like we could beat Washington. And we could kind of like, so this has got about 3-4 wins that we can kind of string together.
You know what? What kind of like, spoiled us in that way to make us think about that every year? If you remember 2002, when Vince Carter got injured, we were a bad team.
Yeah.
And then we went on a 16-game win streak to finish the year to get the 8th place spot.
Yeah.
So it's like every year I'm thinking like, we were crap before, and then we went a 16-game win streak to end the season. it can happen, right? You make
And
the
I
playoffs.
think I think every sports fan does that. Just kind of like looks at the schedule and you're just like, okay, so we got, these 3 teams coming up. That's a win. That's a win. Now we got 3 wins. Shit, we got to play LeBron. Okay, that might be a loss. That might be a tough game, but we've been playing against LeBron well recently, so it could be.
We used to beat LeBron back in 2000. Like LeBron in the 2000s wasn't a big issue for the Raptors.
No, it wasn't.
He wasn't that big.
LeBron wasn't an issue for the Raptors until he got back to Cleveland.
Until we started meeting each other in the playoffs.
Yeah. He wasn't until we started beating LeBron in the playoffs. He wasn't.
We would beat LeBron in the regular season,
even when
all the time in those years. But then when it came,
even when he was
with
just Miami too. In Miami, we used to beat them as well.
Regular season, but then playoffs was just like, LeBron goes up
a whole new level,
and some of our guys would foil.
And it's
shivering.
It's one of the most spectacular things. Is just like, we've seen that. We've seen every single playoff run leading up to that. And even when we got swept by Cleveland, I remember sitting down at the end of it and just thinking to myself, like, the fuck do we do next?
Right?
What do we do next?
It was in those years, it was like, the Raptors, we're such a good team. We're a really good team.
We just couldn't figure out the LeBron situation.
It felt like in that moment we would lose to LeBron. It would be like,
if there just wasn't
as low as possible, as if like we just didn't win any games this season.
Yeah.
Because the point is just like, we're breaking these records. We're winning all these games.
Playing great basketball.
And then we just get swept
destroyed by LeBron.
Embarrassed, and everyone's joking about the team. It's just like, where can we go from this? Because every year we switch it up, we do something better, and then the same thing happens in the playoffs every time.
Every year.
It was just like every year I'm just thinking like, I think to myself like, what do I have to look forward to?
It's gonna play exactly. It's like we're just gonna win.
They win 60 games and stuff. Like,
still got to beat LeBron. We can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. Oh, I remember that. I remember sitting down. It's like, what are we gonna do next year? Get a little bit better.
The year before that Kawhi trade, the season right before that Kawhi trade was like the pinnacle of that, because you'd lose. We went to the conference finals. That was good. We were happy about that. The next year we got swept in Cleveland in the second round.
Yep.
It's pretty down. But then the next year, so you're thinking like, what can we do next? The next year, the Raptors completely changed the way that they play.
Yep.
We had a franchise record in wins, and we're breaking regular season records as far as NBA teams go, as far as like bench points and
bench mob,
all these different things. So it's like, okay, this is something new. This is a different Raptors team from before.
Yeah.
And then same result. So then you're back there. It's just like, even when they do something.
Is it weird that I'm thinking about these seasons and I'm getting emotional? Like, I'm actually starting to like get
like I remember thinking to myself.
And I'm still thinking the way that I was thinking then.
I'm thinking to myself, like, just last year I was thinking, like, what else can we do? And then they somehow found a way to make me believe that this year was going to be different, the way that they played in this regular season. Mm-hmm. And then the same thing happened. It's just like, what else can we do? And you could hear it. Every opponent team was just like, what team did you want to play in the playoffs? Everyone's trying to match up against the Raptors.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we could beat the Raptors, even if we're 8th place in our first place.
Yeah.
We could beat the Raptors. We're not scared of that team.
LeBron said something in 2016 that kind of stuck with me, which was that, the
fans?
Yeah, when he talked about the fans, he's like, he was saying that, I've played in a lot of stadiums, but this is one of the greatest fan bases that I've ever played in front of. Like, they really came out for their team. And that's something that I really appreciate about what we do as a city, is that we come out for a team, whether we're in the building or outside the building. We really come out for our team. Yeah. And even the fair weather fans do their part, but the true fans, they go hard for them. And I appreciate that so much.
It was crazy times. We'd be, we're really loud fans, passionate fans. Especially that was our first time in the Eastern Conference Finals, so that was very
that was huge.
special for us. The fact everyone considered it was a sweep, we ended up losing 4-2. But I think
People
point,
thought we were going to get swept.
Based on our expectations, that was a successful year. So even when the Raptors lost and LeBron's doing his post-game interview, the Raptor fans are all cheering because this is not a disappointment for us.
This is superseding our expectations.
This was a success this year. And that's why they were, going really hard. We were the team that started the Jurassic Park,
all the outdoor
teams that try to mimic that. But
everybody needs an outdoor viewing party now. We started the outdoor viewing party. Where it's Toronto, you have something to be very proud of in what you've done as far as the basketball culture now. I think Toronto has something.
And they just can't get rid of that because when they start raising those prices to ridiculous prices, then you start losing that. You start getting those again. You start getting those Bay Street guys coming in, taking up the whole lower bowl. And I think that's one issue that I see with a lot of the more recent Raptor games. And then it's
not the same energy. It's not the same energy.
And then you get these guys where it's like in halftime, in playoff games, halftime, I'm watching the game start and it's empty. It looks empty.
Yeah.
Because all these guys who are sitting in the front rows are taking their sweet time going back, chit-chatting, talking about their stocks and everything, and they're not getting back to their seat.
Well,
the momentum is a big thing. You need to start off the second half huge. We need the fans there at all points, at all times.
That's why the one thing that I will say about the Golden State Warriors, who have, the biggest bandwagon of fans, but they're true fans. Like the Golden State Warriors have a great fan base.
They do.
They have a great.
And that's another team, even before all their success,
still had
a great fan base, and they were another team that was losing a lot.
Yeah, right? They had a great which is weird because
when they first made that playoffs with Baron Davis.
Yeah,
that really
was
showed
crazy.
They went crazy. They started. You know what? We started the Jurassic Park. They started the whole wearing one color in the NBA stadium. At least they had that whole thing of wearing gold.
Yeah, which is weird because when you think about the gold, like that Oakland, San Francisco area, you don't really think about basketball. If I'm going to think about Oakland, San Francisco, I'm going to think the first thing that's going to come to my mind is Raiders. The first thing that'll come to my mind is the Oakland Raiders because I know they got
R.I.P. to the Oakland Raiders, though.
Right? R.I.P. Raiders. Now they're the Las Vegas Raiders. But that would be the first thing that I think of. And then after that, Giants. After Giants, it kind of like phases in between the Athletics.
Yeah.
And a few
San Francisco has a huge Asian population as well. And
they love basketball.
Asians support basketball.
They love basketball.
Not only do they love basketball, they attend the games.
Yeah, they love that shit.
They love going to the games.
They love Yao Ming.
Yep. Like I noticed in Golden State, they'll have days where they'll have they'll have their Chinese day, they'll have the Mexican day, they'll have Filipino day, they'll have it's a very multicultural area. So it's similar in that way to like Toronto, where you have a bunch of cultures, and
we got to go out there for basketball. A game. We gotta plan that. We got to go out to Golden State to watch a Raptors Warriors games once the pandemic's over and people are allowed to do things again. But I think the Warriors have a great fan base. The OKC Thunder have a great fan base.
OKC came in, they got their team, a winning team right from the beginning.
Right from the jump.
And OKC is just it's just one of those towns, those cities, where it's just they don't really have many sports teams. This is a big thing for them to get.
And I respect them because even in bad years for the Thunder, they still keep the fan base going. So
at this point, if you've been supporting, you've been a very passionate fan at this point since the beginning to now. I think so. Like, you weren't a bandwagon because you were there. You happened to, be there through all the good years. But even when they're bad, it's just,
Who else?
It's not. It's just something new.
Now, I think that the Celtics have a decent fan base. I'm not a fan of the Celtics. I can
see that. I mean, I could see that.
I'm not a fan of the Celtics. I'm not a fan of the Celtics fan base. I absolutely cannot stand Tommy Heinsohn. But they do decent stuff over here. So I'll give them that respect, but I can't stand their fan base because their fan base are also like in the minds of all Celtics. The Celtics have never committed a foul ever.
I would assume with Celtics fans or Boston fans in general, they have such a rich culture in sports. They have such a winning culture. So definitely, I could see a lot of them being very passionate. I could see a lot of them, it's high expectations when you're playing in Boston. That
do you realize that since
the number of championships,
like if you and I grew up here, right? By the time, I think it was 2002. Hold on. Got to keep Google on.
Good old Google. Whenever things are stuck, we got the facts. Quick search away. Before we start seeing some bullshit.
You got to fact check yourself.
Yeah.
So since 2002, right? The Patriots have won 6 Super Bowls. The Celtics have won 1 NBA championship. The Bruins have won an NBA championship. The Red Sox have won 3. 13 Jesus. Back to
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, I know they won it. There it is. There we go. I don't know. Google, you need to be better. 4. They won 4. 04, 07, 13, and 18. So you have 4 World Series, 6 Super Bowls, 1 NBA, 1 NHL, and no MLS Cups. That's the only.
I mean, let's be honest. The other ones are pretty bigger.
not in my books. Not in my books.
Yeah. I mean, whether they have 20 championships or we get 1 championship, you know what? That championship just makes it so much more special.
And you and I have been through something
80 years old and talk about that.
You and I have been through something special that not a lot of people get to experience in their life, which is watching their team win their first championship. And we've done that twice now. Right? We watched TFC win their first championship, and we watched the Raptors win their first championship. Not a lot of people can say that they've done that because most people have already seen their team win a championship before. Right? They've right.
This is just the beginning. That's what I mean. Like, we got to see the first win. Yeah. Don't worry, guys.
We were alive for the Jays
seniors. But we'll be up there with Boston's numbers.
We were alive for when the Jays won their back-to-back titles, but we weren't, aware of it. But we were aware of those 2, and it's a really
and it's crazy. Like, I used to watch. I remember YouTube videos of the championship parade and stuff, or in Toronto after the Blue Jays won, and I'd be looking at that like, damn,
I wonder what that's like.
Am I going to experience that?
Yeah.
Thinking about the Jays, whether it's the Jays winning. You know what? I'm thinking about that, thinking in Italia about when the Jays win. Because to be honest, I'm a biggest Raptor fan. It's very hard to imagine the Raptors winning a championship for a lot.
Honestly, as a Raptors fan,
I didn't think that would come first.
As a Raptors fan, I just kind of sort of got to a point in my brain where I was just like, yeah, we're just going to be good. You know, we're gonna make the playoffs
I'll
regularly.
continue supporting the team, supporting the players that we develop,
Yep.
and players that are breaking our franchise records and whatnot.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the Raptors did it before the Blue Jays. I
The year
remember
before
watching
the
those YouTube
Leafs.
videos thinking like
Dude,
the Blue
I
Jays were
said
gonna.
it. I told someone one time that the Raptors are going to win a championship before the Leafs win a championship, and they didn't believe me. And I said, it's 100% going to happen. Just you watch.
Damn, should have bet some money on that.
I should have. You know what? Now that we're on video and the world can see me, Canada is going to medal in one of the next 2 Olympics for basketball.
Jeez.
I'm calling it from now.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
yeah, 100%.
There's
no reason why they shouldn't.
If it wasn't for the pandemic right now, like, we're definitely up there. I don't know what's going to go on with this next year's Olympics. I have no idea what's going to be, if it's going to happen, what's going to be the turnout.
I don't know what medal we're going to get, but Canada is going to medal in the next year in one of the next 2 Olympics for basketball.
Since we're talking about, making those statements, I remember something as well. 2010, I told a couple of my friends that Canada is going to have at least 20 NBA players within this decade at one time.
Bold statement.
Last year, we had, I don't even know, it was 22 or something like that, 2022. So,
hey.
And when I said that, we only had maybe like 2 or 3.
Because there's a lot of young guys we were part of that.
I was huge in following high school basketball. That's why I saw all the players on the come up. So I'm like, damn, it wasn't just like one year. It was looking like every single year there's a bunch of top guys from Canada coming in. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna have a bunch of NBA players coming up in the next few years.
I remember.
And then you start thinking we could get a medal.
I remember thinking to myself that at some point I might represent Canada in the Olympics.
For which sport?
Basketball.
Basketball?
Yeah. I wanted to. Never happened. Now let's shift gears because there's one team left for us to cover and kind of talk about, which is
TFC.
Hold on. Now you're getting me hyped. I might have to go get a flag right now. Toronto FC, man. Like,
yes, sir.
The passion. Now, I am a Raptors fan through and through. Like, the Raptors are my number 1 team in Toronto, just in the world. But what TFC has done to kind of bring out in me, I never thought it would happen, because when I first heard of Toronto FC, I didn't take it serious. It was like, yeah, we got a team, but, European soccer is still better. So,
still a lot of people that say stuff like that.
Yeah. And I remember when I went to my first ever MLS game, and I got to experience what that environment was like. I knew.
Everyone's surprised.
Dude, 2007 was the first year. The first day that I went to an MLS game was in 2010. So it was about 3 years later. The moment I walked in there and I experienced it, I knew that this was the place to be. Right.
Soccer fans, it's just.
I knew it. Yeah.
You're not there to come to games to watch, to sit down and analyze what's going on, the passes. You got to bring your energy in there at all times. You got to go with the chants. You got to
know the songs.
You got to know the songs.
You got to sing along.
Energy.
The very different energy.
And they brought it here in Toronto when they got that.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that I can say about and what's fortunate for us is that we have such a diverse city. And I'll put it on something. Like, I'll say this right now, Toronto FC may be the greatest fan base in the and in the MLS. Like, I'll say that, because except for some of the newer teams like Atlanta, who is drawing 72,000 people in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta, because that place is immaculate. I've never been there, but
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That fact
but
that
I
they
don't think that's
average.
I think
I
that's
never been to
something
the
that we
game,
can
so
do. I think that's
yeah.
something that we can do. We have the population as a city, right? I
During
think
our
we
winning years, we could have done that. Like, what's our stadium hold right now?
30.
BMO
It's
Field
like in the
holds
30s. It's in the 30s.
Is it 30s after we add on the extra seats?
Yeah.
So usually it's below that. It's like 28,000. Then we add a thousand or two for like those special occasions, playoff games. But we know damn well like we could add way more than that.
Yeah. This
But we can't
BMO
we can't
Field.
do anything else with it.
No. BMO Field should sit 80,000 people, and it should be packed regularly. I think that we can do it. There's no reason why we shouldn't do it. There's a lot of people in Toronto that haven't really gotten on board with the TFC movement, but you should, because it's your hometown, right? And you should support it, because what they're doing out in and that's what pisses me off about Atlanta, about Seattle, about LAFC, is that they have these massive stadiums that they're filling, and they feel good about themselves, but I know that we can do it. I know that we can build
We could do that in Rogers Center, but we're not gonna go play on that type of turf.
No,
for our
but I
games.
know that we can build a 70 to 80,000 person stadium and fill it, and it'll be crazy.
Wasn't the plan that we're gonna keep expanding BMO Field?
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense, because there's a limitation. You would have to knock it down and rebuild at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely fill it out, but then what happens to those teams like Seattle? So Seattle,
they're playing in a football field.
Team.
Yeah,
they've been a winning team for the last few years or so.
We got two fucking MLS Cups on our head.
What happens when they start losing games? How is their atmosphere going to be?
Yeah,
they're not going to be selling out those games anymore. But like, how bad is it going to be? Is it going to be 30K? Is it going to be less than that? Because
MLS Cup last year was crazy.
25K on a 30K stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really notice it that much.
Well, no, that's it. They play where the Seattle Seahawks.
70K stadium.
Yeah, they play where the Seattle Seahawks play. So if they don't get their numbers, it's going to be empty.
Exactly. So,
but Atlanta's done great stuff.
We don't know that yet, because Seattle's just been winning. Well, what happens to the point when they start losing? And that's the reason why I guess Toronto. First built BMO when Toronto. We didn't know anything of whether Toronto would support a soccer club. When they first built it. So they started low. Right now. We want something that's, it's going to fill up consistently. You're like, oh, hey, fans are coming. They expanded it a bit more to 30K.
So people.
Definitely we could have done more than that, but
let it be known.
Thinking long term.
Right.
Supporters shield that they robbed us of.
Right. That's number one. Now, let's move. No, because this is another thing. Seattle, number one. I can't wait. I have been rooting for Seattle all year this year. I want them to win because I need a rematch.
Yep.
It's a revenge tour 2020. We need to get back at them. Listen, the way that I see it is we won one on their turf. No, they won on our turf. We won on our turf. We lost on their turf. We need to win one on their turf. We need to get back at it.
But, their wins have been like
exactly
penalty kicks and
never should have taken Jovinko out of that game. Never should have taken Jovinko out of that game. Oh, and Greg Vanney is a type of guy that just fails upwards. But one of the greatest parts of TFC is a great representation of what Toronto is. And if I was advising anybody of something that you need to do when you visit the cities, you need to go to a TFC match. It's not as good as it used to be. It used to be a little bit better, but I think a lot of things have changed. And I think those things do change when you add any corporate environment, as MLSE tends to be. But one of the things that I can say is when I first showed up there, was that this was such a great representation of how I view my home, which is people from all over the world coming together to support one thing.
I love the multiculturalism that I see in TFC games. And
Yeah.
you know what? I've gone to 3 games where I brought someone to a TFC game for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of them were completely shocked at the energy. All 3 of them, first of all, don't really pay attention to TFC.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them are big soccer fans. One guy watches the Premier League. One he's South American. He follows his national team and the players that play for it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really think much about, MLS, whatnot. Both of them came here completely shocked at just like how passionate and how like amazing the energy is. Like they were fans.
Mm-hmm.
They turned into fans after that. The other guy, he doesn't really watch soccer. He's not a fan of soccer at all. He came there and even he said like this is better. His favorite sport is hockey. And he was saying like this is better energy than in hockey games. Like this is
100%.
Yeah. And he was the type of guy to always bash soccer and whatnot, being slow or whatever. But he came in there and he's like, yeah, this is
It's a lot quick. I will say this: when you watch soccer on TV, it looks a lot slower, but when you're there, it's actually a lot quicker. Yeah. It's the TV angles that make it seem slower.
Yeah.
But if you're there, it looks a lot quicker. But yeah, and that's like I said, we are such a multicultural city. We have people from all over the world, and we need to embrace things like that.
I think to be honest, I think that's my favorite thing about Toronto. If I had to pick one thing, it's the multiculturalism of the city. The fact that I meet people here, I talk to people here from all over the world. I learn about all different types of cultures. I can eat all different types of food from different parts of the world.
Shouting out one of the recent podcasts.
I didn't watch it yet. That's the only one I'm missing right now.
And I got one that I'm editing. I hate editing.
Yeah. That's when you start becoming big, it's all about editing.
But the idea of multiculturalism being part of your identity, being part of your city, that is in its sense what makes Toronto a great city.
And that's one thing that I noticed. So me being, along with you, we were kind of like season ticket holders for Blue Jays games.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to work at Blue Jays games. And the demographic there is like 90% white.
Yeah.
I'm going to say.
Yeah. Except for when we got all those Dominican players. There was like all these Dominicans showing up in Toronto that I didn't even know were there.
Will come up and show up. Yeah.
I didn't even know they were there. I just started seeing them. What? Welcome. Well, I didn't even guys know you guys were in the city. Thank you.
Yeah. There's some Dominicans out in the West End. Go to like somewhere like Keelan Lawrence or something. They got some Dominican communities over there. But in general, like again with Blue Jays, a lot of them again are coming from Leafs fans. You already know Leafs fans demographics is majority white. A lot of them transferring to Blue Jays games is majority white. It's cool because it doesn't represent what the city is. And me as a beer vendor, I have to ID people at times, right? Mm. And I'm gonna tell you, like most of the time when I'm IDing people, a lot, like 90% of the time, people aren't from Toronto. Mm. So it's bringing in a lot of people who are from Southern Ontario, which in general, yes, is very white, coming to Toronto to watch the Blue Jays games. But what I really appreciate Raptors games and TFC games, it really showcases the multiculturalism of the city, just of the country, but really in the city that, there's everyone there.
Yeah.
You have white people, you have, different types of European, like it's not even just like, even in some Blue Jays, you have like your Anglo-Canadian white people, but you'll find like people from like Eastern Europe, Italy, Portugal.
One of the things that I love
Caribbean, African, Latin Americans, Asians.
because that's the thing about about Raptors games and TFC is that, you know, it's not, these people are not Canadian. They're all from Toronto. And that's the thing. It's like they're all from Toronto or Toronto area, but they're really showing you what Toronto is, which is a lot of different people from a lot of different places. And we're very fortunate that we grew up in that, because not a lot of people get to grow up in a city that has that many different people. And in addition to the fact that even those who grew up in cities who are that diverse,
multicultural, it's segregated.
Exactly. It's segregated, or
it's a lot of American cities. It's very segregated.
It's a melting pot. So there might be a lot of people who come from different countries, but they're all assimilating to one thing to be. And that's what kind of like New York is though, although New York is a very multicultural city, but everything is a melting pot. So everybody identifies with being a New Yorker. So being a New Yorker is the way to go. But Toronto doesn't.
I learned that, like in United States in general, when you immigrate to the United States, you were told you need to assimilate. Mm-hmm. But in Canada, you're not told to assimilate. And I forgot what's the exact word. It's not assimilate, but basically you can come to Canada, practice your culture, practice religion, and showcase in everything. It's perfectly fine. You're Canadian, but you are allowed to showcase your culture and whatnot.
Yeah.
While you're here, where the States is just like you need to learn, you need to become and start doing, like, lose what you knew, mm-hmm. and get accustomed to what we do here. And Canada's like, you could do what we do, but we're very happy with you showing your culture here and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most interesting thing. One, because when you go to Team Canada games, especially for soccer, because I used to go to a lot of those Canadian soccer games.
Yep.
And you would see the same people that identify with their country when their country's here, but when their country's not here, they're repping Canada.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. It's one of the funniest things ever. So,
that sometimes puts us at one thing that puts us at a disadvantage when Canada is playing at home against a country where you have a lot of people from that country that's living here.
Yeah. El Salvador.
It ain't really a home game. You saw Canada versus El Salvador?
Yeah, El Salvador.
We got a lot of Salvadorians in this city.
I cannot.
And it's like Salvador. It's not like it's a soccer, it's a football powerhouse.
Yeah.
But they hear like, the team El Salvador is coming here. Yeah, right. Let's all come.
El Salvador, Ecuador.
You saw Ghana too, no?
Yeah, Ghana.
Ghana had a Ghana. They were like drums and everything.
Yeah, they came out in numbers.
Yeah, there's a lot of Ghanaians in the city. But what surprised me was when I saw Canada versus Dominica. And we got a huge Caribbean population here in Toronto. Yeah. I didn't know the Dominican population. Like I could name you, like, there'd be no more than 10 people that I've met are Dominican. But I went to that game and there were a lot of people. There was a whole section of Dominicans there. It's
low key out here.
I wouldn't be surprised if almost all of them are from Toronto. I mean, we're a big city, so you put everyone together. Yeah.
And it works against us because, oh my God, dude.
Yeah, that's the only thing. If you're for Canadian fans, it's just like you're gonna have people. No matter what, you go to home teams, it's such a different experience. You go if you're Canadian, if you're Team Canada and you're playing in Mexico, for example, or any Central American team,
you're not gonna have Canadians show up.
It's rough. It's rough. You would expect, like, we had to deal with that such a rough environment playing in our country. Now you're coming to our country. Like, this is our opportunity to, like, experience that. Like, this is our advantage. But Not really. Because
And that's
we
one.
get a whole bunch of people. We have a lot of people from everywhere in the world, and it's gonna be a mix of both.
That's one of the things that I think about, because I would never want to be in Canada and play like a meaningful game, like Canadian soccer team is playing a meaningful game against Russia or Italy or Portugal or Spain or China. Like a lot of these countries that we have such a large population of, right? Can you imagine
Yeah.
just having to deal with that? Like if like I know so many Persian people, right? If Iran had to come to Canada to play a game, I'd be like, oh my God, I want to win. I really do. But I know they're just going to come with great numbers. But it works against us. But it is the coolest thing
It'll
to
be interesting to
experience.
see when like Canada's like in the World Cup, which is gonna happen.
It's going to happen.
Yep. I mean, we're hosting the World Cup. We all might got that.
2026.
Hopefully, the next one we're going to be in there. But I think what's also Canada hasn't been in the World Cup for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also what makes Toronto such pleasurable is that when we have the World Cup, we have so many people from different countries.
Supporting.
It's like every single country that's playing in the World Cup, we have a community here in the city. There's a whole neighborhood, a whole strip, even if it's just one bar, for the really small areas. But we have something in there that has a place where people are supporting this place. We have, I've experienced so many times with different Latin American countries, Italians, Portuguese, Ghanaians, where you go on St. Clair or Jenny Wilson, and it's just a party. And I love that. I love that about Toronto. I love that I don't really I don't associate with this. I'm not from this country. And whatnot. I don't really care for how they do in soccer, but just to go on the street and just be part of the whole celebration.
It's amazing. But you know what, you're right. Because a lot of those individuals who identify with their country in the World Cup, they also identify as Canadian too.
Yeah.
Right. When their team is not playing, they identify as Canadian.
I'm sure, obviously, Canada's going to be at big numbers when we hit the World Cup. A lot of those people are going to be cheering for two teams.
Yeah.
For the country that they were born in or where their parents were born in.
Yeah, their heritage and where they're from.
For sure.
Like we have something
special
until
those two teams meet, then there's
it's like a little bit of difficulty.
I'm gonna go with my family country. Well, for the most part, definitely Canada's gonna have huge support when they come here. Everyone here, Canada has a big soccer fan base based on the fact our soccer fan base is not because of the history of.
Well, we got four Canadian soccer players in the UEFA CONCACAF Champions League right now. I think it's 4. Is it more? Is it 4?
Who are they? Davies,
James,
David. Yep, James, David, and who's the fourth one?
I'm looking it up right now.
And then we have a whole bunch of guys, and there's another thing that could be a negative as well. But then we have a whole bunch of Canadians who are very good, but they represent a different country.
I follow Canada soccer on.
We have a bunch of Canadians that represent a different country because of the fact that
Yeah, they could be Canadian, but they're not. But they are.
It happens, especially with the guys who are really, really good. Like, let's say you're a superstar. You could represent Canada, or you could represent one of the top international teams in the world, like an England, like an Italy or whatever. You have the family pressure of you saying you pick the country of their origin, right? Plus, it's better. Maybe it might be better for your football career. So we have some legends that are playing. With England, we had Owen Hargreaves, Jonathan de Guzman on Netherlands. Right now, we have Fikayo Tomori on England. So it always happens.
He's the one that plays for Chelsea, right?
Yep, Fikayo. He was, but you know what? With him, he was born in Canada to Nigerian parents, but he grew up in England. So He played youth soccer. He represented Canada as a youth, but he switched to England. I mean, I can't believe when you grew up in the place. If you grew up in London, in England, I get it. I understand.
I can't.
You identify the most with that place.
I can't find the article, but I remember there was an article that was released, and it was talking about all the Canadians that are partaking in. There's 4. Whoever the 4th one is, who I know doesn't watch this podcast, but in the
Not a T-ball, is it?
no, it's not a Tiva. Is it? No. Is it?
Turkey, Galatasaray.
Is it though? It could be.
Another Canadian that didn't play for Canada, Asmir Begovic, who also played for Chelsea.
No, because who does he play? Because who does he plays for? He plays for Besiktas, right? And they're not in it.
What? I say Galatasaray. Yeah, he played for Besiktas with Kyle Lirin. Is he still there too?
I have no clue. There's a 4th Canadian. I just don't know who that Canadian is.
What you search? Canadians in UEFA Champions League?
Yeah.
And it's not giving you results?
It's not giving, because I'm not putting it in.
Look, I got a notification saying Raptors could play out of Kentucky.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, next NBA season could begin January 18.
I hope so.
And Stan Van Gundy was hired as the Pelicans head coach.
Good for you, Stan. Yeah, I'm Jonathan. Did we say Jonathan David?
Yeah, David. Yep.
David James.
He's an amazing
Davies.
player too. Maybe I need to think about this. I don't know. Is it? You're not including Tomori in it.
It's Chelsea. Chelsea's not in the Champions League.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not including him. It's like people who have played internationally for Team Canada.
For Team Canada. Is it our goalkeeper? Milan
I have no
Borjan? Borjan? How do we say his last name? Borjan?
I have no clue.
I mean,
I feel bad because now we're like trying to look shit up while we're hold on, I gotta sneeze.
While we're doing the podcast.
I'm so sorry, people.
COVID.
I tried to
Bless you, but you're muted.
Yeah, I tried to mute it.
Jeez.
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
I'm trying to figure out who it is. It's not. Well, I'm going to give up. Liam Miller.
Google Fit. Oh, Liverpool.
Liam Miller.
Liverpool. That's right.
Liam Miller.
I knew it was a guy who doesn't get like big playing time. It had to be some guy who's on a big club, but it's not like, starting.
That's the fourth one. Sorry, Liam. Even though you don't listen to this podcast, and
he will one day.
One day he will.
One day when we're big and everybody's going through our old history, try to find something to cancel us, they're gonna find this video. Shout out Liam.
Because that's the new thing on the internet. Dude, we've been going for quite some time here. This is almost a 2-hour podcast.
Has it been? Damn.
It's crazy, dude. But did the Dodgers win? No, they didn't. They lost.
You got to put this in this video in like 2 parts.
No, I'm just gonna play the whole thing. I'm just gonna put the whole thing. I'm too lazy.
Put the first part.
I hate editing.
We talk about sports. Second part, I don't know what the hell we were
We
talking
talked about
the
sports the whole thing, but we digress too much. That's the problem. But we'll come to a wrap here. Thank you for listening. You know, smash. You know,
if you listen to this whole thing, shout out to you.
Yeah.
Big shout out to you.
Did you make it all the way through this podcast? How many times did you have to restart it before you got to the final minutes? But thank you for listening. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, leave a comment. You know, tell us about your experience as a Raptors fan, Blue Jays fan, TFC, Maple Leafs. And I'll even entertain anyone that watches the Argos. But
we didn't talk about Argos.
We didn't. For a reason.
I had nothing to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I got nothing to say. Not disrespecting the Argos. I just have nothing to say. I've never really been. We went to an Argos Grey Cup game and just kind of waltzed in there, and they won the Grey Cup.
We celebrated with them. We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
We just kind of.
What is going on?
I don't even think we had plans on going to the Grey Cup until we found out that it was the Grey Cup that night. We got tickets, went to the game, and then the Argos won, and then we just celebrated. No plans.
I mean, because why not? Like, shit, it's a reason for us to celebrate. A Toronto team won. Hell yeah.
Which is funny because, like, a lot of people will say, like, no Toronto team has won a championship in years from between the Raptors and the Blue Jays, but the Argos won a few times.
Argos have won the most in the CFL, no?
Probably. I don't watch the CFL.
I think so. I think they have the most championships.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, they're like an original team, so
I don't care either. So I also don't care.
The Leafs have also won the second most in the NHL.
Have they? No, they haven't.
Second most.
Is it?
Second most. Google that shit.
I'm not Googling.
That's right.
Because clearly I don't know.
Google's gonna give you an answer this time. It's Montreal first, Toronto second.
Oh wow.
But Toronto just hasn't won since 1967. But before that, when there were like only 12 teams, 6 teams, life was good as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan.
How did I accidentally put in Stanley Cups and then saw an actual picture of a cup?
Stanley Cups.
Well, that's just what happens. Anyway, thank you for coming out, Phil. Appreciate it. Can't wait to have you back. Have a little bit more of a serious discussion about certain things. This one's a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more fun, talking about our hometown, representing the city of Toronto, North York specifically. But
yes, sir. I think I have a map. I have this whole map of North York. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to laminate it so I can put it on my wall.
Because North York's the place to be. North York is the place to be.
No matter where I'm at, I gotta have where I'm from there, North York. I took the Western Road sign.
I saw that in the background. I've seen that
over there. That's Western Road. It's there. So I gotta compliment it with North York map as well. Childhood, high school.
I'm trying. I would love to have one that just says Faywood Boulevard on it. That's what I'm trying to get.
Don't worry. I'll get one for you. I'll maybe right now if it's pretty late, so I can take one. Got some screwdrivers. And I'll deliver it to you.
Nice. You know that's self-snitching though, right?
No. I didn't hear anything.
And then I woke up from that crazy dream.
I didn't say anything. It's just that's all alleged claims.
But yeah, man, it's great. Can't wait till you come back again. This is a long episode for people to digest. I hope everybody makes it through. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe for more episodes. We're gonna have more fun, and we're out here, man. Peace.